This content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Draper Goren Holm or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever.
Hey everyone, it is me. We are here. Joseph is here too. Say hi, Joseph.
Hey, what's up?
Boom, boom, boom. We're recording.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Hey everyone.
I am recording this on the computer now.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone.
Boom. All right. It says it's recording. Boom, 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 boom.
I am apparently recording.
The entire bottle of control. They're all exactly the same.
Crypto art, and then what it really is an NFT.
Wow. Eddie wants to slap the bag.
So this is the next best thing.
DeFi is going to be a bubble.
It's provably scarce. With Mad Dog.
Crypto, gold, and silver.
Transparent substance.
Take my money, start a war with it.
Without further ado.
Cheers to you, brother.
Get shit done. Because the system has to collapse before that.
Cheers. I feel much better now.
Cheers.
Wow, that was heavy.
Boom. Cheers. Welcome to Blockchain Booze number 124. We're 124 weeks into this craziness. And this is going to be a fun one because we've got Mohsen back. All you guys probably remember him, but we'll get back on that. And we've got Sanjay joining us today from Roofstock, which is very exciting as well. And we're going to get to know him. But before we jump in, let me remind everyone that if you're on the Lunar Crush stream or listening to us on Blockchain Radio or on YouTube or wherever the heck you are, if you go to meet.blockchainbooze.io, you can jump into the chat. You could hang out with us. If you haven't been back there for a while, you'll have to re-register on our new system, which should have all of its bugs fixed. So report them to me if you run into any hiccups. I already see Adele backstage saying hi to Mohsen. What's up, Adele? It's been a little while since you were back here. So what's happening, man? So we've got Sanjay. This is your first time on the show, our guest. I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little background on Roofstock.
Yeah, thank you, Alon, and thanks for having me. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. So Roofstock itself, founded in 2015 as a single-family rental marketplace. And then over time, we sort of built expertise around serving both retail and institutional customers. Today, we have a fully vertically integrated SFR platform where retail investors can buy and sell individual homes, and as well as large institutions can come and ask us to find properties and manage, do a full service management for them. We have about 16,000 properties we manage nationally today for our institutional investors. Company was most recently went through Series E with SoftBank funding us as a lead on that. But otherwise, the company is backed by all the big VC firms in the Valley, Khosla, Bain, Lightspeed, etc. At the beginning of, or towards the end of last year, the board and our leadership team wanted to see if there was a real use case for real estate in blockchain. And the promise has always been that an asset class this big, just single-family rentals in the US is $4 trillion. It's about 20 million units. An asset class this big still goes through a very archaic process, which involves buyer's agent, a seller's agent, title companies, escrow, notary publics. By the time it's about 3 weeks or so to close a transaction. And when you add all the costs for a $200,000 property in the Southeast, between commissions and closing costs and opportunity costs and all that, that could be $20,000. So it could be like 10% of the value of your property. So, it seemed like there was something blockchain could do to simplify this process radically. That's always been the promise. And I'm glad to announce today that we have actually found a way to make this radically simple and very cost effective as well. In fact, our first Genesis property is on OpenSea today, and people can go and look at it. So this is built on ERC 721. Yeah, I'll share the details later.
Is that why you're asking me for my ETH address before we came live? You're going to send me some real estate?
Well,
I'll take that one.
I was going to say along that we are already bronze sponsors for the LA Blockchain Summit. But if you were to
already
today, we might upgrade to silver or gold.
All right, we can do it. We can do a trade. I'll call up Joseph. Say, how would you like some real estate? See, normally, so this is so funny. We've done the event for years, right? This is the 9th LA Blockchain Summit, and so many, especially when we were getting started and we didn't have the capital, and we were so desperate to close the next sponsor, and then all of these companies would come to us and be like, hey, we want to give you our token instead of paying. We want to give you this instead of paying. We want to do this. Nobody ever came to us and said, we'll give you some real estate, right? Like it was always, this random altcoin number 500, and we'd have to take a bet. That's pretty amazing. We'll talk about it afterwards.
No, absolutely. And I've just over time kind of become more and more intrigued with Web3 and DeFi and just everything else. And I'm basically now a total believer, and recently also joined as an advisor for Pudgy Penguins, which is a really fun NFT collection. So
nice. Wait, what's it called? What penguins?
Pudgy Penguins.
Pudgy Penguins.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. It was really, really funny. I was on a call with somebody the other day, and this is not to talk anything about Pudgy Penguins because I want to check them out. But there was really something, because I said something like lazy lions, bored apes, like I was joking around about it. And somebody said something, I forgot what it was. And they called it like patient pandas or something. They threw something like that out. I don't remember what it was. I don't even think it was pandas. It was maybe like koalas or something, whatever it was. They threw something out. While I was on the call, I Googled it, and it was a real collection. And they, in their minds at least, thought that they were making something up completely. And it was pretty funny. That's pretty fun. Before we dive in and talk more details about the Roofstock NFTs, Mohsin, reintroduce yourself to the Blockchain Boost community, and tell us a little bit about Accrue.
Yeah, I can't believe 124 episodes, and you still got technical glitches that you're trying to fix. I recall one of the first ones where we switched.
To be fair. So like the Blockchain Boost community gets rewarded, right? Like they got the Decentraland Punk Ape Strong hats, drop all sorts of NFTs. We do fun stuff though. The regulars will for sure be at LA Blockchain Summit with us and all that fun stuff. But at the same time, we kind of get to use the Blockchain Boost platform to beta test things for our big events, right? So we wanted to have a new platform for the big events. Crispin, dude, I'll hit me up. I'll send you a Punk Ape Strong wearable if you don't have one yet. He said, wait, I missed the hat drop? That was months ago. I haven't talked about it enough. Hold on. Let's see if I have it here. I thought I had a picture of it somewhere. See here.
No, so nice. Yeah. So I remember
that BAHC hat, Bored Ape Hardcore hat. That's Punk Ape Strong's logo from his guitar. And that was dropped to all the people who gave us their ETH addresses at the time. Yeah, Ben, the new system beeps when there's new messages. I have no idea. I think there's a way to turn it off, but I'll figure it out after the call. We'll tech support it later.
So that's not half as bad as half the people showing up on Zoom and the other half showing up on Remo. That was very
the first week or two, we kind of realized, like, nobody types in blockchainboost.io anymore. All the regulars are used to the Remo system. So I put a bunch of messages on Remo telling people come to the new system. But where I was getting at is that we spend so much money every single year for each of our events to have a virtual system so people can do the networking, so people can watch the live stream, they can do all these things. And we hate every system we've ever used because it's not customized for us, right? It's customized for, whoever made it for, mainstream events 10 years ago. Like they're all really, really old. They're not really virtual event kind of modern.
Having attended
system.
all your virtual events for the last 2 years at least, right? I know you guys do a kick-ass job at it. There's no question about it. But
so we now have our own system. So by the time LA Blockchain Summit comes around, it's going to be even more exciting. I think. Yeah, nice. It's gonna be great. Mohsen, go. We totally derailed it.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mohsen Masood. I'm the founder and CEO for Accrue. What we do at Accrue, we make the exclusive inclusive. We slice and dice larger commercial real estate assets into $1,000 shares, and we let people buy, sell, and trade those on our platform. We do it in a very compliant way where we enable liquidity and we let people invest with as little as $1,000. So that's what Accrue is. And we help you build your real estate portfolio and get into this major institutional asset class. And yeah, that's it.
Love it.
I don't have a fancy long spiel like Sanjay.
Oh, well, it's my first time, man. You've been around, so everybody already knows you.
So, I love this because Sanjay Roofstock is doing it, right? And there's not many, I think that when I first met Mohsen, I said, real estate crowdfunding is probably the only crowdfunding segment that really worked, right? On a large scale. There's obviously some examples of companies who have crowdfunded and some certain campaigns and things like that, whatever. But when we talk about investment crowdfunding, owning a piece of something, the easiest one to explain and the one that makes the most sense category-wise is real estate, right? If I explain to my mom that she owns a sliver or a portion of I said I love it, which everyone in the chat reminded me means you take a sip of your drink every time I say I love it. I won't because I say I love it a lot, which I just said again.
Go ahead, one more.
Getting back to it, if I explain to my mom that, hey, that Starbucks, the building that the Starbucks is in that you walk to with your friends every single morning, you guys get coffee, you sit there for an hour and then you walk home and it's like your daily routine now that you're retired and all that fun stuff. If I could tell you could buy $1,000 portion of that building, she would understand it very easily. Unless a startup is one of her son's startups or something like that, there's zero chance she's going to discover it on the internet and write a check or put in her bank details, right? But there's a chance she understands what's being sold to her when it comes to real estate with crowdfunding. So I'm excited to have you on, Sanjay, because Roofstock is one of the few very successful sort of crowdfunding online investment. And using the word crowdfunding maybe isn't always the best term, but
you're offending me there, my friend. You're offending me. That's not right. That's the simplest piece of what we do.
I'm talking about pre Web3, pre-blockchain. Roofstock's been around for a bit, right? And I think they're a great example of, hey, this can be done now with blockchain. How can this be optimized? How could this be made better, right? And I think that Accrue is doing that, right? But I'd love to hear from your perspective, being the techie blockchain guy who's coming into Roofstock, how you believe it's going to change.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing Roofstock did when we started was allow people to buy properties in remote markets, right? Because if you're in California and you're looking to buy a property in Atlanta, there's just no easy way for you to underwrite a property there, have the kind of boots on the ground to figure out what needs to happen, manage it for you, the purchase, and then what happens after the purchase. So the first kind of version of Roofstock was to simply allow people to easily buy remote properties. But the actual process of buying the property itself still goes through the same exact process it's gone through for decades, right? Where you have a buyer's agent, a seller's agent, and all the kind of normal processes and there's probably like half a dozen or dozen different intermediaries involved in the transaction. It takes weeks to close. With blockchain, why it becomes really interesting is because in the way we are looking at solving this problem is we're dropping the title to a property into a single purpose limited liability company. And there's a single membership interest issued against that, which essentially gets tied to an NFT. So when the NFT trades in an NFT marketplace, right? So that can be OpenSea, LooksRare, wherever. Essentially, the transfer of that NFT is, in essence, affecting the transfer of the sole membership interest of an LLC. Therefore, and we've done 50 state analysis on state and local taxation and whether this is permissible or not, etc. In a lot of the states, we can actually do this transaction on the blockchain, and essentially with that conveyance of that token going from one wallet to another, it's an instruction to change the uncertificated ownership interest from Mohsen to me, right, for example. And so that essentially, like if you have ETH or USDC in your wallet, you can buy a single family home.
So
essentially the time it takes to validate the transaction.
And what is the NFT? Is it buying the whole home? Is it buying an interest in it?
So this particular product is basically buying the whole home, and all it's trying to do is simplify the traditional process by which somebody buys or sells an investment property and reduce the cost associated with doing that. We do have a fractional product which we built. It's a real estate investment trust where you can buy shares against a small pool of single family homes. We have not yet put that on the blockchain. Clearly, that offering is in the securities world. But with this particular offering, we wanted it to be something accessible to non-accredited investors, right? We wanted people to be able to just go to an NFT marketplace and buy a property. So
the REIT sounds like something perfect that should be listed on Crew. I'm still the single family home. If I buy the NFT on OpenSea, I'm assuming in the fine print or in the metadata of the NFT, it still says subject to me contacting Roofstock or being contacted by Roofstock and giving my details and all that stuff. Because I can't anonymously buy a home in the United States.
So it's correct that you cannot anonymously buy the home. What we've done is we've taken the standard OpenZeppelin 721 implementation. And in the before transfer function, we've added a couple of calls. So one is obviously the token has to be in a sellable state because there is a real world asset behind the scenes. So you need to know that property taxes have been paid, insurance is current, and if there's you might need a recent property inspection. So you need to be able to surface all this data to the seller and the buyer. So there's no information asymmetry between the two of them. And then secondly, because you are in fact buying an LLC interest and there's a real estate asset behind that, you do have to be KYC'd. So we have an allow list smart contract, and people can get into the allow list smart contract. Once they are in that, then you can buy the on OpenSea, and you don't have to call us back afterwards.
So if I went to go buy it today, since I haven't been on the allow list, I would get a failed transaction.
You basically get a failed transaction.
Exactly. But if you pre-register, then you could buy it on OpenSea. You could buy it anywhere. That's interesting. I've never seen anyone do it that way. Normally, you pre-register and you go onto a Crew or you go onto a platform. This is an interesting way. So you discover it maybe on OpenSea. You might want to buy it. You might try to buy it and fail because the transaction fails, and then you could go to Roofstock, KYC, do all that stuff.
Exactly. On the description, we'll have links to where you can go to get the KYC done. We're going to be integrating with Jumio, which will do an ID verification and make sure you are who you are and all that. This information is required by law, so we can't just
Somebody did some like an NFT, and I think it was definitely a publicity stunt, hoping that they would sell a home, and it so happened that the home was in Thousand Oaks, California, which is where I live. In the city, I went to Thousand Oaks High School, and it's in my city. And I saw the NFT, and it was for a house, and essentially they basically said, you know, you're still going to have to do all the paperwork, and this isn't actually you buying the house. But
Right.
I mean, this is
like, it was more like redeemable, I guess. You could buy that NFT and then actually redeem it for the right.
Exactly. I think is the way they looked at it. But you know, I remember even at the time, the house wasn't in the best. I shouldn't say in the best area. Like, there's not really bad areas in this, you know, in this area, but it was a little overpriced, and I think they were just hoping some you know, dude is gonna flip an ape and buy buy it, which, you know, to me is an interesting idea. I've talked to Mohsin about this a lot, right? Like, my dream is that we create this culture and this vibe. Like, I don't want everyone to just go from shitcoin to shitcoin, buy random NFTs they don't feel passionate about, but flip it for something. But let's say you do sell one of your World of Women and you end up with, I don't know, $10,000 or whatever it's worth, and you go, okay, maybe I put $5,000 of that in my savings account, or I go and buy another NFT with it. Where do I put the other $5,000? Like, real estate is a great place to put it, right? And I'd love to create that culture of, let's now flip a portion of this into some real assets, into some things like that. And that's why I was so excited, you know, when Mohsin talked about potentially, you know, taking USDC or ETH into some of these assets on the platform. Mohsin, how is that going? I know that there's some evolution of the platform and the assets on the platform. What's new there?
Yeah, so you know, you talked about a Starbucks. We've got a neighborhood Starbucks going on the platform on August 24th, I believe. It goes live. We've got about $40-some million worth of assets going live on the platform between August and September, which includes an apartment building, that includes a Marriott at Purdue, that includes a Starbucks retail strip center, medical office building, you know, the whole 9 yards. So getting some great assets on there, and, you know, unlike having to buy a whole asset for a couple of $100,000, and actually save that few $1,000s and spend it into a fractional piece with $1,000 a pop too. But you know, looking at the real estate market, and looking at where people are today from a capital markets perspective, and where your S&P 500 is versus Bitcoin and Ethereum are since the beginning of the year, and where in general returns on investments are, people are really looking at the alternatives investment space. And what used to be Bitcoin is now, no, wait, that doesn't really work, because we're down, 60% since the beginning of the year. We need something that's going to be a little bit more tangible. And so real estate is working out well. We're up to 44,000 users on the platform. And so that's...
Don't let Tim hear that you said Bitcoin is no longer the investment.
Yeah. It's not the alternative investment of choice is what the differential is, right? So it's
with
not that
people
it's not
with people who aren't necessarily correct. No, I'm just kidding. I was just messing with you now. I'm a huge fan. You know, see, I love, the reason I love Bitcoin, the reason I love Ethereum and Tezos and all of these crazy alternatives is that I don't necessarily believe in the government backed stuff, right? Or at least these things that are so dependent on that. And I think real estate is something everyone can kind of agree upon and feel good about, because even when real estate goes down, it's
real, it's tangible, it's something
it's tangible, it's real, right? Like, and I can still live in my home, whether it's worth $1 or $1 million. I still have that value, and that's exciting. So you know, I would never you know, I would love to have more exposure to real estate. I would also love to have more exposure to Bitcoin. So,
of course. And one kind of interesting thing about real estate, right, is if you look at the 2008 crisis, when property prices declined for a few years considerably, people still needed a place to live. So the rental market was still doing fine. People were renting homes. And now and of course, since then, property prices rebounded. And in the last couple of years, they've kind of had unprecedented growth. But even when you look at the COVID, couple of years, so just in the last 15 years, we've now gone through 2 kind of stress tests on the real estate asset class. And yes, there's temporary dips in property values and all that. But, if you're looking at a longer term horizon, 5 to 10 years, it bounces back. And it is an inflation hedge because value goes up over time, but also rents increase year over year. So
it follows inflation too. So right. So
exactly.
And like David just posted in the chat, he said he's only went to 2020. He said Bitcoin's doubled since 2020. I'd say go back 5 or 10 years, just like Sanjay's talking about real estate. I think he'd be very happy. So I think the moral of the story is stack more real estate and more Bitcoin.
Absolutely, diversify. Don't get stuck to one side. Whether it's
diversify, have both of those assets.
That's right.
Yep.
No other.
Absolutely.
And this is not investment advice.
Yeah, the disclaimer already played, but we can go back.
Isn't that playing at the bottom as well? Oh no, that's not what's playing at the bottom. Yeah, no investment
just join
advice.
the conversation. I can add. This is funny. If I look at this in the StreamYard where I have all of the different things, I have a bunch of old tickers and signs and things like that. And one of them says this. I don't even remember what this is from, but it's SEC changes accredited investor rules, which is pretty great. I think I had Andrew Dix on once, and he is the master of asking all of those kind of questions. I don't know if you guys, I think you guys know Andrew Dix, but for everyone listening, he is the founder of Crowdfund Insider and Crowded Media Group, and he's just the dude that if you had any question related to any sort of SEC rules related to crowdfunding or accredited investors and things like that, he not only knows the scoop, but he knows the dirt on which politicians endorsed it, which politicians were against it. He knows which SEC advisors are the ones you need to talk to. He is the master. So we probably had him on. But speaking of that, I'd like to hear from both of you. Are your platforms specifically for accredited investors? Can non-accredited investors participate? Sanjay, you mentioned non-accredited on the NFT, but what's the general idea behind your platforms? Are most assets for everyone?
Yeah, so I can start, Mohsin, right? On the NFT platform, we wanted to steer clear of securities because I think, securities are already complex enough to begin with. And then once you add tokenized securities and just the increased the enforcement that's going on right now in the current climate, we didn't want to be part of going through that process, trying to explain why tokenized real estate is the same as any other kind of securities program and why it should be treated the same, etc. And just the if we had to sort of only allow AIs to get in, it does restrict where we can sell it. We would never be able to distribute it on NFT platforms. So we carefully spent the last 9 months coming up with a program that should not be treated as securities under U.S. securities laws, at least. That gives us the freedom to really sell this like real estate. Because if you're buying a property today, right, if it's a $200,000 property you're buying, nobody's asking to see if you understand what the risks are in property ownership and all of that.
And the funny thing is that I don't think anyone would argue that it's necessary. Right?
Exactly, right.
It's a made up arbitrary thing to begin with.
But somebody wants to invest $1,000 on Mohsin's platform, they have to go through, whole AI verification. You're doing a 506C and you're checking their income, their assets, and all of this.
It's AI verification times 2, because if you're a robot, you're not allowed in either.
That's right.
That's your KYC, right? No monkeys behind there.
That's right. So from our perspective, I mean, the REIT is a securities product. It is subject to accreditation. Yeah. But this product, we specifically wanted to allow it to be, traded like any other real estate asset, traded on NFT platforms. So we've designed it specifically. I mean, looking at, we can go into all the details, but it all starts with the Howey test, as you guys are aware of. But then from there, we've looked at all the other tests like Williamson v. Tucker and Reeves and et cetera, and really built out a very carefully constructed argument. And we have memo level comfort from a couple of different law firms as to why this is not a security. So that's been our goal here. Mohsin, I'll let you, commercial is obviously a different beast, but
absolutely, we said regulation first. We want to go for compliance. We want to fractionalize it down to an affordable piece, not something that's so large that only a few can purchase it, and it's only in name that it's affordable by non-accredited investors. When we're breaking it down to $1,000, the average investment on our platform is about $9,600 per investor. The segment within accredited investors that we focus is the working class, the people who are out there working 9-to-5 jobs, husband and wife, who qualify as an accredited investor based on their income threshold, right? So any one of our households where both partners are earning to a point where they get beyond that $300,000 threshold, right? And that's what qualifies them as an accredited investor. Yeah. Not the fact that they have $1 million worth of net worth, not because they have any additional.
Like debt cancels that out. And I learned very early on that most accredited investors, angel investors in startups and things like that, probably wouldn't qualify as accredited investors in the actual sense of the word and on these online investment platforms because they have debt, because they leverage what they have to buy more and make investments, right? They go, okay, I might own $1 million property or something like that, but I'm going to make a $50,000 investment in that startup, a $50,000 investment in 10 other startups. And all of a sudden, the debt that they took to make those other investments cancel it out. And if they actually went to get accredited on one of these platforms, they'd fail the test. Right. Yep. And it's pretty funny and pretty interesting to kind of, once you realize that, it's kind of like one of those lessons I learned. I sold Amazon stock that I had working at Amazon to buy my condo that I live in. And at the time, I felt bad selling the stock, but I wanted my monthly payment below a certain price. So I sold the stock. And afterwards, every investor I spoke to when I was launching my own startup was like, why don't you just borrow against your stock? I had no idea that was even available, right? Because the average person, I was raised by immigrants who owned an auto parts shop, right? Like, how would I know that I could borrow against that asset? I didn't even know the word asset at the time, right? Like, what does that even mean, right? So, and if you don't grow up that way, you don't know, right? And I think that the accredited investor rules kind of also fit in that balance, because you kind of think about it. For the most cases, very wealthy people or whatever, but even the wealthy people, most wealthy people, don't even qualify as an accredited investor unless they're a family that has, a couple, good, high-paying jobs, right? But that's it.
Yeah. Well, you're living very close to the poverty line in San Fran if you're an accredited investor as a household of two. I can guarantee you that $110,000 is below the poverty line in San Fran, right? So they're pretty decent, as long as you're decently paid.
But at least it's a clean and beautiful city with no problems in their politics.
No homeless people whatsoever either, right?
But I think the specific test, Mohsin, is $1 million of net worth outside of your primary residence, which means, when you're looking at net worth, that's assets less liabilities. It's very hard to figure out what somebody's liabilities are unless they tell you about it openly. So that test is, in fact, unless you can show up
for the online.
No, Sanjay, there's actually four.
The liability lies on the platform. So absolutely. It used to be, if I was a startup and I would go, Sanjay, invest in my company, as long as you signed the document and you said, I agree, I'm an accredited investor, nobody gives a crap, right?
That's right.
But when they changed the rules and laws for regulation crowdfunding and Reg CF, which is Reg CF and Reg A Plus and all those things, they put the liability on the startup who's fundraising. And so if I'm a startup and Sanjay, you tell me, I'm an accredited investor, here's my $25,000 angel investment in your company. If 2 years from now you tell me, I wasn't an accredited investor, I demand my money back, it's on the company to give the money back or go bankrupt having to provide it.
That's right, because it's a right of recession to all investors, in fact, because
100%. Yeah. And that's totally messed up. Yeah, I know. Reggae plus. Every time the chat is saying reggae, like the music. I agree.
Yeah, no, look,
that would be way more fun. But
no, with the accredited investors, it's not just the net worth, right? It's also the income that you earn. You could qualify based on the securities licensing that you have.
Absolutely.
So all of that plays into it. And honestly,
but that even makes it more offensive. Not to derail, but like it basically, when you say, "Oh, you can be an accredited investor if you passed a test or were sophisticated enough," it's like, "Oh, so if I'm not rich, I'm fucking stupid." That's nice. It's like the most offensive thing the government could have done, right? Like,
well, there's certain exceptions.
It's like, hey. If you can pass this math test, we'll allow you in our casino. Is basically what they're saying. And by the way, if you want to create generational wealth and create the American dream that we've talked about and learned about, at least in my family and other families who were immigrants and came to this country, you better pass that math test, because the only people in this casino are the ones who create that wealth, right? It's really messed up.
We can only work with the regulations that are there, right? So when you say regulations first, you got to work with what's there. And for all those people who are talking about reggae, absolutely. It's just a longer registration process. And with the way that we're working through FINRA and with the SEC, we expect to open up to retail investors, non-accredited investors, early next year. That's the end goal. If this is the hardship that we had to incur to open up and democratize this space for everyone else, we're willing to go through this, and we're willing to kind of live it out while it's tough on us. But that's the end goal. We want to democratize commercial real estate. As our tagline is, we're all about making the exclusive inclusive. We want everyone to be a part of it. We don't want it to be just the top 0.5% or the top 1%. Not just all the Alans out there should be able to own the real estate that they want. Common folk like me and Sanjay should be able to have a piece of it too.
Condo is the only real estate I own, full disclosure. Just saying. But I wish it wasn't. I mean, actually, I might own a sliver or two on various real estate crowdfunding sites that I've tested over the years.
I'm forgetting whether you own something on Accrue or not. I know you have an account there.
I have an account on Accrue. You know what? I was waiting for the moment I could flip some NFTs into some real estate.
That's true, right?
I'm waiting for the tweet. That's all I'm waiting.
Dude, that's all on FINRA. I'm going to blame it on FINRA. We can't wait to flip the switch on it. You can't imagine the kind of stuff we go through with the regulators on a lot of that stuff.
Unfortunately, I feel for you, Mohsen, because I mean, I don't know how many of the listeners know this, but the FINRA has not approved any special purpose broker-dealer licenses. Therefore, no broker-dealer can actually custody a digital asset. So you're creating all these workarounds just to allow people with digital assets to transfer and trade on a secondary platform by inserting a custodian, a transfer agent, and all these other intermediaries, right? And yes, by the time, there's new regulations, hopefully over time, Mohsen, you won't have to deal with all this kind of complexity that's over and above what's required for normal stock secondary trading. But at least for now, you're kind of stuck in this world where you have to make do with what you have, right?
There's a lot of hoo-ha. There's a lot of hoo-ha about TAs and other folks wanting to get involved in the transaction because they want to make themselves relevant. That's not the case. I can tell you directly, FINRA to date has never asked us to employ a transfer agent in any of our offerings or for any of the secondary market trading that we have in place. That's the easiest license to get as well.
If you're doing Reggae Plus, then it is a requirement to have a TA. But
for a registered offering, for a registered offering, you will
that's right.
TA. Otherwise, that's not the case.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, and that's the funny thing is when it's for non-accredited investors or when you try to do it in that registered way, there's all these extra things. It's why it's way more expensive for companies to go public, right? And it's why it's this whole industry and why crypto even really exists, right? Like, why does a DAO exist? Because if creating an LLC and giving everyone who you want to give shares to was super easy, then a DAO wouldn't need to exist, right? And all of these products. But it's I'm really excited for this future. I think it's huge. So the answer is on accrue. Just to go back to what I was asking before, on accrue, you have to be an accredited investor for now. Hopefully, by early next year, we'll be able to be all of us will be able to participate. On Roofstock, there are some offerings for non-accredited investors, but those REITs and those other things, the fractional pieces are for accredited only, right?
Fractional is done under Regulation D, so it happens to be accredited.
Yeah, there was a question actually asking what D, but that means it's a Reg D 506C is basically
506C, yes.
Right? Just so everyone knows, that basically means it's for accredited investors only, and to see the really intimate details of the transaction, you have to at least self-accredit yourself before you log into a system and see all the
you can see the assets by just attesting that you are accredited, but before you actually complete a transaction, you will have to go through a verification. I mean, even with the REIT, we did some innovation because the REITs otherwise in the market, when you go in and buy shares of a REIT, you kind of buy shares of a little piece of every property that REIT owns. We created an innovative layer through some financial engineering to essentially package the cash flows of specific properties. So we would take like 8 or 10 properties in Atlanta or Birmingham and say, here's a little pool within this REIT that you're buying into. So we could, basically allocate cash flows for those 10 properties to the investors who kind of bought that sliver. So that's some innovation we added on our REIT that didn't exist before. But otherwise it is, because it is a REIT, it's a fractional ownership program, it is a securities offering.
And at the end of the day,
so folks are asking on both platforms, what are the minimum investments?
Yeah, you can invest with as little as $1,000, right? So you're in with as little as you want, and the largest investor on our platform has $275,000 on there. So in a single asset, so you pick and choose. So you can go buy that NFT for $200,000 or $150,000 or $300,000 as well. Sorry, Sanjay, not
on our REIT, our minimum investment is $5,000, and that can be allocated amongst numerous of these little bundles that we talked about. With the NFT program, it's built to basically simplify the process of traditional home purchases, right? We want to make it cheaper, faster, easier. And then the ultimate goal for us there is to, unlock DeFi lending if we, can get it there in the next several months. Because, when you think about it, the thing that pains me the most is like, you want to get a loan on a rental property today, you have to go to your traditional lender, right? And they're underwriting you to Fannie Mae standards. And Fannie Mae puts a limit on how many income properties you can own and what debt to income ratio you have to have and what credit scores you have to have and all of this stuff. And they're doing all this because they need to take that, package it, and sell it to Fannie Mae for securitization. Yeah. But we've seen really beautiful and elegant examples of DeFi lending, even though I'll say this version 1 of Compound and Aave and Maple Finance and all of these, they were all crypto lending to crypto, right? But if you look at the concept, the fundamental concept, where you don't need a loan servicer, you don't need a loan originator, you don't need any of these intermediaries.
You have a real asset.
Yeah. So why should you not have lending for real assets through DeFi? And if you eliminated all these intermediaries, can you not shave off 200 basis points on the cost of the loan, right? Why pay 6-7% for an asset that's backed by real estate, which is very stable, not volatile at all, preserves its value, when you should be able to get a cheaper loan? And if there's none of these intermediaries and rent seekers involved, it should be a lot easier. That's the next challenge we want to solve. Like, we've now done the tokenization of the property and we've come up with the legal argument for why that works. And the next step is to do DeFi lending. We have worked out how to actually take your NFT as collateral and give that to a DeFi lending vault, and how that actually gets you perfection of lien interest as a lender. So we worked out the legal aspects of it. We just now need to find the capital and marry it and create a protocol around it. So that's our next step.
That's exciting. Yeah, I think the idea, I've talked to Mohsen about this, right? Like, it's not hard if you own crypto, right? Bitcoin. We talked about Bitcoin. It's not hard to deposit Bitcoin into Aave, deposit it into Compound, deposit it into Nexo, and get a loan against it. On a thing like Nexo that's centralized, you could wire money to your bank account from the mobile app in one click, right? And it's insane to me that as somebody who owns some real estate, that I can't simply borrow against it that easily. The way, like, you know, it's literally today, if I deposit Bitcoin into anywhere, ETH into anywhere, one of the places I mentioned, I could instantly get USDC, even if it's just 50% loan to value or 25% loan to value. You know, don't hit the max if you're somebody listening. And this is not financial advice. Don't borrow against your stuff. You know, we've seen the flash crashes and the manipulation and things like that. But you know, with something like real estate, right? Why do I have to really overthink it? Why do I have to be on the phone with the bank for hours? Why do I have to shop the loan around 18,000 times if I want to refinance it? What if I just want to like take some cash against it for a month? Like, so I have to sit on the phone for hours and hours. I have to refinance my house. I have to do all these things that just don't make any sense, especially because it's the one asset I own that's the most stable. It's not my car that could crash very easily. It's not, you know, no meteor is going to come from outer space and buy it away. It's the most well-insured asset I own too. So what the hell?
I'm going to tell you this. You can always invest 10K on Accrue and then borrow up to 50% of the equity through the margin lending piece on the Accrue platform too. So if you ever need money in a rush and you're invested in real estate on the Accrue platform, you can borrow against it. No,
that's exactly.
You don't have to talk to lenders about it.
And I know you also talked about secondary trading and things like that opening up. What's the timeline on that?
So it's 90 days. We already have secondary market trades that are happening. Just have a 90-day cool off before that secondary market opens up.
So I buy a piece of real estate, even if it's $1,000, buy a fraction of something. After 90 days, I can list it and say I want 1,100, or I go, oh shit, I need to put my kids through school. I'll sell it for $950. Like you can then do that.
Yeah. So that's what's super unique about our platform, right? You can list it for whatever price you want. There's that eBay buy now button, which the buyer can click on and buy right away. Or you can, people can come back and counter an offer to you. So just like with real estate, there is that price discovery piece to it. No one,
and just like with crypto, just like with NFTs, right?
Yeah, but how often are you actually you're bidding up the price? But how often are you negotiating in terms of instead of 1 ETH, I'm going to give you 0.75.
Well, if you own any like sort of blue chip NFTs or whatever, right? I own an ape, and every day I wake up to OpenSea offers. I'll give you this much ETH for your ape, but it's always 20% below market price. But people are always offering, and every once in a while I'll get a DM or something saying, hey, I really wanted a striped shirt ape with those glasses and the whatever. Were you willing to work a deal? And I just assume everyone's a scammer because we're in that world. But how wonderful is it that you've created that opportunity for real estate and real assets? And it's mind blowing that didn't exist till now. It's really exciting.
Absolutely, and that's what really enables it, right? And if you really back to where I started from, if you really need the money right away on $1,000 token that you purchased a year ago or 90 days ago, and today it's worth $1,200, you can borrow up to $600 straight off the bat. You don't have to sell it for $900. You have access to instant liquidity where you continue to own the asset. You continue to get the income from it as well, and you're just borrowing straight off one of the lenders on the platform with a couple of clicks.
I love it. That's really exciting. And remind us, actually, if anyone has any questions in the chat, I should tell people feel free to throw any questions in the chat at meet.blockchainbooze.io. It'll redirect you to the DGH events site. You could come in there, ask questions, whatever. But you can also you'll also be able to turn on your camera or chat with the community when we're done also, if you'd like. One of the things I was going to ask before we get That's actually an interesting question. I mean, I feel like that'll be the holy grail. That's a wonderful thing. But Crispin asked, what happens to the marketplace when there are 500,000 tokenized properties?
That's beautiful for us, right? And that should be the future. So we're looking. We have over $1 billion of real estate in our pipeline that's set to go live over the next 12 months. But to put things into perspective, last year, over $594 billion worth of real estate traded hands, commercial real estate traded hands just in the United States. So we're a small sliver of it when you have $500 billion or $500 trillion worth of commercial real estate on the platform. There's nothing better than that.
And I can probably say the same for single family, right? There's about 20 million SFR units. These are just single family rental units. It excludes owner occupied single family homes. And out of these 20 million, roughly 600,000 to 900,000 trade every year. So, like if we get to 1% of the market size, the TAM, right? Like that would be a really good start for something
really
like this.
Exciting. Yeah, and I mean, wouldn't it be? To me, we're in this crypto world and we're on blockchain and booze, right? So wouldn't it be so nice, right, to be able to buy your Bitcoin, buy your ETH, go onto a platform and very easily buy and sell these assets digitally, right? Like, the idea that there is even a headache or a paperwork involved in buying an asset like this is crazy in this day and age, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. It should be a few clicks away, and you should be able to borrow against it with 1 or 2 clicks to buy the next thing or to do what you have to do, right? Like it's it's exciting that the future is finally happening. It's great. So where I was going to get to is Sanjay and Mohsin, before we leave, I would love any updates. Mohsin, tell us really quickly, you mentioned that you have a lot of assets joining the platform in the next month, I think.
Yep. So August and September, apartment building. Excuse me. We've got a Starbucks and a Chipotle retail strip center, triple net lease, which is pure cash flows for anyone who buys into it. Well, not an investment advice. We've got a co-working space that owns the real estate that's going on there. We've got a Marriott at Purdue that's going on the platform. We've got a medical office building, which is again, triple net lease asset. So all income producing stabilized assets where you're going to start seeing returns on a quarterly basis. So you'll start making money on your investment starting the first 90 odd days. And that's what's going on the platform right away. In the future pipeline, we've got some 400 unit apartment complexes, some light industrial buildings. We've got some larger retail centers, including flagship stores like Kroger's or Walmart's and Home Depot's that are lined up to go on the platform as well. So assets everywhere from parking lots in Manhattan, which are going on the platform. So some really fun assets, and then some really sexy assets in terms of these cutting edge developments in Miami at just in South Beach, in Brickell. We have some very nice assets in San Fran going on the platform as well. Some fun buildings in Manhattan and Brooklyn, which are lined up for due diligence right now as well.
I was going to make a bad joke. I'm not going to do it. It was more self-deprecating because I live in California. So, but Sanjay, before we head out, you mentioned the Roofstock NFT. Is that something we could that's out there right now we could all look at?
So we deployed our smart contract to the mainnet, and the properties listed on OpenSea right now. Our own proprietary native marketplace will be launching in a few weeks, but people can go today, look at the property, make an offer on OpenSea. It is available. I also wanted to say that we are looking in the next few weeks to create, based on the popularity of soul-bound tokens and account-bound tokens, like people that join our Discord and Twitter communities, we actually want to offer them a free real estate course. And we'll do a sort of an account-bound token drop, and then people who have that token will have access to a coupon code that makes this course free, which is otherwise it'll have some dollar value attached to it. but we want to educate people about single family rentals, how to, if you're new to this asset class, how should you be thinking about buying properties? How would you underwrite them? All of that stuff. Like what should you be looking for in a property manager? How do you select one? How do you tenant it out? So we're putting together a course right now that will offer to folks that join our Discord on Twitter. So, but I also just posted the on the chat the link to the POAP, which I'll send to you, Alon and Mohsin. So you guys will. This is the first time we're doing this, and again, like you said earlier today, I was bored over the weekend, and I just reached out to our lead designer who's actually vacationing in New Zealand, and I was like, hey, can you help me put together a POAP? And she sent me the designs and I created the collection. So
it's so
nice.
Cool.
Thank you.
Hey,
I'm gonna say this. Roofstock is by far one of the industry leaders when it comes to single family home investments. I've been a user in my previous life, along with a few friends. They've been phenomenal. And Sanjay's a dear friend. I've been picking on him every now and then. And that's all in jokes, and I know he knows that. But they're great. So with their innovation within the single family space, I'm sure they have a lot more up their sleeve that he's not talking about right now. And that's definitely going to be a good segue into moving real estate from traditional transactions to blockchain-based transactions.
Yeah, and
I love it. And I know
and return the favor, right? Like when I first got into Web3 and blockchain,
I was not fishing for a comment. I can assure you that. For a compliment.
Well deserved, right? I saw a lot of YouTube videos with Mohsin talking about real estate tokenization. He was one of the first guys I reached out to. Him and Dave Hendricks, actually, who you also know, Alon. So
yeah,
we're good friends. We bump into each other at every crypto conference. But yeah, it's been great. Your friend. Thank you for your friendship, Mohsin, and we've learned a lot from you. And I think with CRE, you guys are trailblazing, and I think keep up the great work. So
I think what I was going to get at. Excuse me.
Bless you.
So what Jim is asking us to talk about some chubby penguins, pudgy penguins. Sanjay, tell us something about pudgy penguins. But what I was going to say is you guys both have to come back soon and update us when you do launch each of those products and things like that. Maybe we should have a roundtable. I know that a few of the crowd, like Jim, Brian, I think that I know David Rankin also all have experience with real estate. Maybe we should do sort of a blockchain booze, like real estate roundtable, something every month or two, right? Like I think we should do that because we get down the pudgy penguin talk a little too often lately because it's just what's happening right now in our space. We're probably as obsessed as I am. We're talking too much NFTs, guys. We need to. Here we go. Jim is saying Rankin, Jim, Mohsin, Sanjay. I combined your names. I said Mohsin and Sanjay roundtable. I like it. Jim, let's do it. One of you guys could take over as the host for me, maybe. Or I can come here and I can just ask the dumb questions and learn, which is important too. But guys, one last thing before we go, give us a link or a place to. Somebody's asking me to post the links in the YouTube chats as well.
Yeah. Alon, I'll post the link to our first property on OpenSea here. I don't know how to get it to the audience.
I posted the OpenSea link there, but accrue.co. I know that is one of the plugs, but Roofstock. What's the URL for Roofstock?
onchain.roofstock.com. So I'll post it here.
onchain.roofstock.com.
I'm posting it right here. On-chain.
Yeah, so anyone who wants to get a hold of us, accrue.co, accrue.com, accrue.us, take your pick. You'll find us there. Soon you'll find us in the UK at accrue.uk, in the UAE at accrue.ae, and at other global destinations as well.
You have a lot of URLs, my friend. I'm just ETH_Sanjay in Twitter, so reach out to me and I can hook you up with whatever you need. But the URL for our website is onchain.roofstock.com. You can also OpenSea and just look up Roofstock, and you'll find our first token there. It's a property in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Mian Masood, MIAN MASUD.
I love it, guys. We're gonna have you back. Oh man, if I don't even want to say this out loud, but Crispin, I mean, if you didn't already buy it or Mohsin didn't already buy it, then Ben is already in there buying it right now. I know what's going on right now. Oh, see, Ben's already laughing at it. I'm not even going to say it out loud. I'll tell Mohsin in 10 seconds when we end the broadcast. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Blockchain Booze number 124. I'll see you in the chat. Oh, it's taken already, David Jack, so I'll say it. Do you own accrue.eth, Mohsin? Or is somebody
I don't believe we do.
Oh man, somebody's squatting on it. Okay, community, let's figure out who that is and see if we can steal it back or buy it back in a friendly way. It's Ben for sure. It would make me so happy if it's Ben. There's one of the guys in the chat, BB Studios, Ben, who he's a world-class .eth ENS domain hoarder, like I am. But I don't do it with names like that. I do it with stupid crap that's completely unusable. Like I just get dumb ideas. I'm like, I'm gonna buy the domain. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Please come back and we'll talk more. Both Sanjay and Mohsin will be at LA Blockchain Summit. So there's going to be some fun, there's going to be some fun stuff going on there. There's definitely going to be real estate tokenization conversation there. And by November, there's going to be a lot more traction and interesting things, even if just with us. It's going to be great. Thank you so much, guys. And for everyone else, I'll see you later. Jump into the chat. Let's hang.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it.